Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137. And here's your forecast for Friday, November 10th and Saturday, November 11th. Friday, in the clouds with snow showers. Additional snow accumulations of a trace to 2 inches with a high in the upper teens. Winds will be west at 60 to 80 mile per hour with gusts up to 90 miles per hour, decreasing to 50 to 75 miles per hour. The wind chill rising to 5 below to 15 below. There's a little type in there that says fissing, F-I-S-I-N-G. Whoops. Friday night, in the clouds with snow showers. Additional snow accumulations of a trace to 1 inch with a low around 5 above. Winds will be pretty elevated again, west shifting northwest at 50 to 70 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour. Wind chill falling to 20 below to 30 below. And then Saturday, in the clouds with snow showers, trending towards and in and out of the clouds under partly cloudy skies. Additional snow accumulations of a trace to less than 1 inch, with a high temp rising into the mid-teens. Winds northwest at 50 to 70 miles per hour, with gusts up to 80 miles per hour early, decreasing to 40 to 60 miles per hour late. And the wind chill on Saturday will be 20 to 30 below, rising to between 0 and 10 below. So it's going to be a chilly weekend for the Reckless Full Brewing Hike and the Rescue Me 5K, so dress accordingly. Be safe.
Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers studio in the great state of New Hampshire, welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stomp.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 129. We got Stosh here. We got Stomp.
Yeah. Welcome, Stosh.
Hey, awesome. Good to be here. Good to be here. I don't know why you guys have me on this. Again, I have nothing to do with you guys. But
I'm that desperate not to be like stuck in awkward moments with Stomp on myself, so I need somebody.
Exactly. I told you.
Yeah. The Stomp, Stosh, and Mike show. Got a ring to it, don't it?
True. So, Stomp, are we ready for this weekend? We have a big weekend coming up, listeners. So, on Saturday, we've got the Rescue Me 5K. So, I've been running. I've been doing my thing, Stomp. I'm ready to go for the 5K. But then afterwards, we have the Reckless event, right? What do you want to remind everyone all the logistics on that?
Yeah, correct. So, we have a team of about 22 runners now. So you're supposed to get your bib at about 8:30. This is for the Rescue Me 5K race, which is this Saturday morning, November 11th. and the bib pickup will be at the One Love Brewery in that area, but they're asking people to park in the Price Chopper parking lot, which is adjacent to the One Love parking lot. So you'll see the movie theater, Price Chopper, and all that stuff. And again, you'll see Gray Tacoma with a pop-up tent with the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue branding on the side. So if everybody wants to check in over there at the tent, I can give you your bib number in advance. And if you hear this before the race starts, you can direct message us on Insta if you want, and I'll give you your number. They have so many people running this race that they're trying to get those numbers out in advance so that people know where to go, what line to get into to get their bibs. So hit us up. Otherwise, just hit the tent, and I'll give you your number then. So that starts at 10. The race is at 10. And then directly after that, there will be a celebration and a party at One Love, but we'll be bolting to Reckless, and a full conditions brewery or brew event is happening at Reckless, and that starts at 2:00. And this is the Ty Gagney collaboration with Reckless. It's a fundraiser for the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, which is the umbrella agency that provides grant monies to the volunteer search and rescue teams. And it's a wonderful event. So the beer is done. It's ready to go. So everybody's going to be slurping down some full conditions. And that, again, begins at 2:00. For an hour, you're going to be hearing some music from me. And then from 3 to 5-ish, Mike and I will be recording a live episode. This is episode 130. And we will have live comedy. We have multiple guests. We have Wayne Saunders from the Warden's Watch podcast, a retired conservation officer. So he's going to give us the deep inside baseball on fish and game and everything they do for the state. And then, of course, we have Ty Gagney, the pretty much renowned author around here who writes about search and rescue in the White Mountains. So, and of course, Steve from Reckless will be there talking with Ty about how they made the beer. And I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop. But I think that covers everything, right, for the day?
I think that covers everything, Stomp. I'm just looking at the course, the race course here. So it looks like it's pretty reasonable. It looks like the starting line somewhere around like One Love and Price Choppers, and then you go out onto 112, the Kank, and you run down back towards 93 a little ways, and then it's back into sort of that parallel road there, which is, I think, looks like Pellard Street or something like that. So you run all the way down, and it doesn't look like there's much elevation change. So it's a little bit of up and then a little bit of down.
Correct. Yeah. Are you planning on running this thing fast? Just
Stomp.
Smoke it?
The name of the event is Let Rescue Me 5K Race. So yes, I'm going to run. I'm going to win it.
At the end, there's someone to rescue, so you got to run as fast as you can.
I may need to be rescued, Stosh. I'm curious about my time. I haven't run a 5K in probably about 3 years. I think I usually float around like a 20 to 21 minute time, but I feel like I'm gotten a lot slower now. So we'll see. I'll be curious. I'll be happy with 23 minutes.
In the spirit of search and rescue, I'm going to go nice and slow and sweep the rear.
Nice. Understandable. You know, I did a 5K once. I think it was a 5K in a Flash costume for a benefit. So that was fun while hungover.
That's funny.
Wow. Well, we have my daughter's doing it with her friend, and then her boyfriend's doing it, and he's not a runner, but he's like definitely like he's sort of dating into the family of 5K like marathon running type people. So he's in for a fun day, but I think it'll be good times. We'll see.
Yeah, I think back to like, am I ready for it? I'm not really ready for it. I have been running again, but I just got over that weird arch issue in my foot. So I'm going to go easy, but I'm not worried about time or anything like that. But I do have to ask you have to help me after the race. Once I cross that finish line, I have to leave and go to Reckless and get ready for the event.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave it up to the listeners, the race crew, and you to take care of the tent and everything else.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll get pictures and all that fun stuff. But very excited.
Excellent.
So it's a big weekend for us. But on to this episode, which is episode 129. So welcome to episode 129 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we are turning our gaze to the west. So we're going to be going to the Berkshires and we're going to be going to the Catskills. So we welcome our friend Stosh back from Inside the Line podcast. Stosh is the guy for all things hiking related to the Catskills. So he's approaching his 100th episode. So we wanted to have him back on to catch up. Congratulations, Stosh. He has some updates to share with us, including he was over in the Whites earlier this year in an ill-fated Pemi Loop, so he got the crappy weather that we've all been dealing with. So we'll talk about that and some trail maintenance and some volunteering. And he's going to compare some of the aspects of the Whites to the Catskills. And then continuing our focus on pointing west, I'll have a recap of a recent trip out to Mount Greylock, which will include some history and some tips for planning a trip out to the Berkshires. All this plus Stomp hikes the Watcher and Eaglet. What's in Mrs. Stomp's backpack? We're going to snoop into her pack while she's out of town. We've got snow predictions for the winter. We've got a story of an elk attacking somebody. We've got survival sticks that you can buy. Are those the next big thing? Mr. Beast tries to do a good thing and it goes terribly wrong. And I'm sure we'll have some other stuff going on there. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started, shall we?
Excellent. Yeah, let's get started. So we'll kick it off with a hiking buddy spot and then we'll pop back in, right?
Yeah, you got it.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
Use the seasons as a guide to the geography of your hikes. If you're more of a fair weather hiker, don't try Washington alone in winter. Watch the water levels, especially in spring and after heavy precipitation or snow melt.
All right, Stomp. So thank you to the hiking buddies for their advice here. So two things we want to celebrate. So again, Stosh's 100th episode is coming up, and then Stomp, it's your birthday. So which one do we want to talk about first?
Oh,
Birthday.
certainly Stosh.
No. Birthday, man. The birthdays come first, man. Mine is not important.
Okay. Yeah, I just turned 54.
How old are you, Stomp? 54?
54, yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I had a really nice 2 days. I have to do a quick shout out to Colby, Bryce, and Dylan, my coworkers at Moosehead. They set me up with some really nice, like a knit hat and a gigantic Yeti bottle. Holy moly! It's like 3 Nalgene's combined. It's beautiful. So thank you guys. And the rehab crew that I work with down in Meredith, they had like a lunch today for me. So I feel nice. It was I sort of cringe when I get put under the spotlight, but I have to say thanks where it's due. So moving on.
So Stomp, is that Yeti bottle going in your 75-pound pack?
Yeah, it needs to be a little heavier. Yeah, no thanks. It's those Yetis, man. They're metal. Holy moly.
Yeah, they're big. My kids have those. They have the Yetis and they have the Stanleys, and that's a big thing in the teenage crew.
Yeah, it's great.
Things are heavy, but it keeps it warm and cold.
It does. Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah.
Stomp, is any of your coworkers listen to the podcast?
The paint crew guys do. Just so listeners know, I paint a couple days a week for a professional company, and then I do physical therapy 3 or 4 days a week outside of that work. So 2 crews. The rehab staff don't know yet because it's a fairly new position. Okay. And the virtual PT that I do, they do know.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag, but I don't go out really promoting it.
Well, the reason I say is because I didn't get you anything and I'm not getting you anything, and I feel like they're making me look bad. So if they're listening, like, stop getting Stomp presents for his birthday. Just say happy birthday and move on. He's 54. He doesn't need anything.
Exactly. That's my thought on it as well. Hey, if you take the tent down Saturday, I'll be happy.
Okay.
That'll be good enough.
Buy him a few beers at Reckless. What the heck, man?
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. I will do that.
Yeah.
And then Stosh, so you've been hosting a podcast Inside the Line. So we knew each other before you did the podcast through social media, and I think you started pretty close to when we did, a little bit behind, and we talked back and forth around starting up a podcast. But you've hit 100 episodes, so you've just been plugging away, kind of like we are every week, just getting something out for the most part. Can you talk a little bit about the milestone?
Yeah. Well, Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast, I was influenced by you guys. And it was just something that I decided to do after being like a volunteer of the 3500 Club and being the second vice president of the 3500 Club. I thought, how can I reach out to more people? And I was just like, there's not a podcast about the Catskills hiking area. It's more about, just the general Catskills in one. So I was just like, I'll do a hiking podcast. Why not? And here I am 100 episodes in, which is, well, close to it. I'm like 98 right now. So, it's just, it's absolutely insane. I'm nowhere near as popular as you guys, but, it's been a wild ride, just having a good time talking about hiking, talking about every aspects where you can help the mountains, in your own way and in any other way, volunteering and stuff like that. It's been fun. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, and I actually look at like doing this, for me, it's been more about just sort of get to know people, highlighting the overall hiking community. Like, if people listen, that's great, but that's not the first thing to worry about. And I think that just giving people the legacy, like, I know I've talked to people and they're like, I want to get a good hiking podcast. And I always tell people, like, your show, our show, check it out. And I think that for the most part, there's never going to be huge audiences, but it's just getting the message out there around education, history, and ideas on where to go. That's what it's all about. So, and with 100 episodes, you built like the knowledge base for the Catskills.
Yeah, and it's been a great time of just, like you said, knowing people, getting to know people, interviewing people that I've never met before, and then being comfortable talking about what their stuff is, what their life is, what they've done, and stuff like that. It's been a great ride, and it's I don't know how we freaking do it, being like regular people and regular jobs, and how we get to do the script, do planning, doing this and that. I gotta admit, it's tough. Is it tough for you guys as well?
It's a lot of work. Like, I couldn't do like you. So you do it all by yourself. Like, I couldn't do it without Stomp. I mean, I feel like Stomp, we've sort of fell into a pretty good partnership where we each have our roles, and it just kind of works. Like, we can push out a show very quickly, but it wasn't easy in the beginning.
Oh, it's a lot of work. Preparation, looking up stories, coming up with ideas, guests. I mean, gee whiz. Yeah, but yeah, we're definitely in a rhythm now, which is nice. And I think we split it, 80-20, Mike?
I would say that's about right.
Who's got the 80? Who's got the 20?
I don't know. I think Stomp's probably get a heavier lift than I do, but it's we're figuring it out. So,
well, that's one thing I'm jealous about is your charisma, the way you guys handle things, the way you can handle one episode by yourself. Like, I cannot do an episode by myself at all. That's just absolutely ridiculous, talking to yourself. And it's really tough. And I've done probably like 3 or 4. And my God, is that absolutely just insane to hear yourself and try to talk with yourself.
True. When did we do that? I mean, we've done like a Mrs. Stomp, but I don't think we've done a solo, have we?
I think you did one Stomp. I can't remember.
Maybe one? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was fairly brief, though. Yeah, that's weird, man. That's like, it's so weird. You're like some creepy dude in a basement talking to yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Now, Stosh, what are you doing for your 100th episode?
So, what I think is my 100th episode is going to be a man named Danny Davis, and he does like geology and geomorphology, I believe it's called, with all the water flow in the Catskills and stuff like that. I think unless I'm going to use this as my 100th episode, it's going to be about that. And, the 100th episode would be a live broadcast from Camp Catskill in Tannersville, New York. And it's really cool spot. And, the funny thing is I was like not thinking anything about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's 100 episodes. I'm not that big. I really don't care. And one of my sponsors came to me and was just like, let's throw it at my place. And I was like, no, I really don't want to, man. I don't want to do all this planning and crap. Like, it's just crazy. He threw it at me and I was just like, yeah, now I'm into all this planning and crap.
Yeah, I think events like this are important, though. They can boost your stature and exposure. I think they're important if you're really serious about continuing on with the podcast.
Yeah, definitely thinking about continuing on, of course. And,
it helps.
And it's open to the public November 19th, 3 p.m. if anybody from the Whites wants to make the 6-hour trip down to the Catskills to see my horrible live performance of a podcast. Go right ahead. By all means, tell me you're from New Hampshire and I'll have you on the mic without any doubt and just be like, yeah, talk about why you came here.
Oh, that's cool.
We'll plug the details on the show notes as well, and we're gonna do a whole segment with you later on. So, we've got a couple of miscellaneous stories that we wanted to run through here. So, Stosh, just jump in whenever you want. So, I think we've got 3 or 4 of these. So, one is we've got when animals attack. So, we've got a story here about a fatal elk attack. So, this is interesting. Like, a lot of times it's usually like bears or bison or something crazy, but this is a case of a woman who died 8 days after being hospitalized as the result of an apparent elk attack on her property this is in Arizona, Kingman, Arizona. Yeah. So the attack occurred on October 26th while the woman's husband was in Kingman. I guess they live on like in a community area. According to the husband, when he returned around 6 p.m., he found his wife on the ground in the backyard with injuries consistent with being trampled by an elk. He also observed a bucket of spilled corn nearby, and there was no witnesses to the event. So the husband called 911. The wife was transported to Kingman Regional Medical Center and then to Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas. And she was in a medically induced coma due to the extent of her injuries. So apparently Arizona Game and Fish Department did not learn about the attack until the next day when they found out from local residents. And I guess they were warning people not to approach or feed elk. They spoke with the victim's husband and other residents. And when they were at the victim's residence, they observed multiple elk tracks. So I think that this is the first fatal elk attack in Arizona, and the Fish and Game is urging people to make sure that they do not feed wildlife or allow wildlife to get food sources from items such as garbage or pet food. So it sounds like this is a situation where somebody was feeding this elk and it went terribly wrong. So who knew?
All right.
That's a shame. Yeah, you feed the animals and you put them in jeopardy.
Yeah. So Kingman is right between Havasupai and Phoenix. Las Vegas and Phoenix, sorry. And it's like the stop for the Havasupai area where they go to do that amazing, awesome hike in the Havasupai region.
Okay. So it's like in eastern Arizona.
Yep. Yeah. And it's actually, they got a couple of hotels and motels and stuff that people stay overnight there for the Havasupai Falls area.
Okay.
But it's a flat area. There's barely any mountains around, so I can see why the wildlife was crazy. But, you kind of think you'd be knowledgeable in that area to not feed the massive elk.
I just wonder if they assume, so I see deer every morning on my run. Like, I would never feed them, but I'm not scared of them. But I do, there's a 6-pointer that's running around right now that, if that thing went after you, it would absolutely impale you and kill you. So
definitely tragic stuff.
Have you done that hike into Havasu or whatever that is, or Havasupai?
To be honest, I have gotten a permit, but the timing wasn't correct. It was like in like March, and I couldn't do it in March, but I was just like, I'm going to hold on to this, and I just couldn't do it. So I had to sell it, give it away online. But I am definitely waiting on, I think it's like February 1st when you can apply for that. And I am definitely looking forward to doing that. And that's a definitely bucket list item.
Yeah. And for the listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's this, I guess it's connected to the Grand Canyon. It's this incredible blue waterfall. I'm sure most people have seen pictures of it before, and it's like this supposed to be an amazing hike, and you camp out right under the waterfall.
Yeah, it's like a 13-mile hike in to the waterfalls, and then another mile hike into where you camp, and then you could also do another. I think it's a round trip of 6 miles into the Colorado River to meet where the Havasupai, the conjunction of the Havasupai meets the Colorado River, where it's like crystal clear blue water, and then it meets absolute disgusting brown water.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of my friends went, and there is an option to take pack animals in. I think you can go on a donkey if you want.
Yeah, it's they'll haul your stuff in, but you have to hike in, of course.
Oh, you have to hike in, so you can't ride a donkey in.
Yeah, no. Okay. That's it's pretty, like, a lot of people underestimate the hike. Of course, it's like 1,300 feet down into the flat area. And then, of course, you got to hike like 8-9 miles to the other area. So people underestimate. Plus, it's like sand and loose gravel. It's horrible.
Yeah. My buddy did it. So this kid's a professional bodybuilder. Matt Pooley. Matter of fact, I'll get a send the section to him, but he's a professional bodybuilder, and he was going with his girlfriend at the time. He's not a hiker at all, but she's like way into it. So she got the permit. He was taking the backpacks out of the trunk of the car, and he blew his knee out. He like twisted his knee, and wow. She's like, I want to go. And he decided to just suck it up and go. But he hiked in and out with a blown knee. And he's a big dude. So it was a rough trip for him.
Yeah. Crazy, beautiful area though. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it is. But all right, well, don't feed the elk, and we'll keep us updated when you get a permit for that place.
Hell yeah.
All right, Stomp, this next one is on you. So this is an update on how the El Nino effect will impact snowfall over North America. So do you want to recap this?
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly technical. There's a link in this article that we'll post that leads you to a broader definition of what El Nino is. But the forecasters are giving this season a high chance that this will be a strong event based upon climate model predictions and current conditions. And there are multiple things that they look at: temperature, precipitation, and air patterns and whatnot. But so long story short, we're looking at potentially a really great winter for outdoor activities in the snow. So it's worth checking out. It says here, forecasters expect El Nino will continue through the spring, with a 75 to 85% chance it will become a strong event. So there you go. It's going to be a good winter, people. Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, we'll include this in the show notes here, and if it's a bad winter, Stomp, then I'm coming for you.
Okay.
Well, hopefully it's not like last winter where it was just cold and ice the whole time and more of snow.
Yeah, until the resurrection at the end there. It's like it resurrected completely at the end for another month. It was the weirdest winter.
Yeah, it was like crappy in December and then in January, but then February rolled around, and then later on into, it was like 6 weeks of like real winter, but I don't think it was really that good. Like you only had like 2 or 3 weekends of snowmobiling that was worthwhile, right?
Yes, but they were the best conditions you could ever hope for at the end of the season before it became just slush. It was absolutely amazing. But the lead up, December, January, it was just miserable. So,
all right. Yep. So next story here, Stomp, I have is sections of the iconic, is it McAfee or McAfee Knob? I think it's McAfee Knob, which is part of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. So that's sort of the iconic outcropping where people take their pictures, and there's a big vista that you can look out on. So I saw a news article today that the section of the iconic McAfee Knob vista has been protected. So I think some organization was able to buy the land that you look out into when you stand on the overhang on the knob, and it's been protected and secured for the future, so that view will never get ruined by like windmills or any other sort of construction or any development.
Oh, interesting. So the actual view from that point to the
Correct.
horizon.
Yeah. So I'll include the link in the show notes, but like there was a concern that, that
amazing.
There's a particular area that wasn't protected. So now they've purchased it and been able to protect it. I think the ATC has bought it.
That's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, you look, when you're on, McAfee Knob, when you're looking west, you see that awesome ridgeline, the Appalachian Mountains. So I wonder if that is protected as well, because that would be a great spot for wind turbines.
So on the article, it shows like it's the vista that's directly, it's the mountain chain that is like directly closest to McAfee Knob. It's like two sections of that. So I think farther out, I think that's part of the Appalachian Trail, but I don't know if that's protected or not.
Hey, whatever. It's a beautiful spot. I got to admit.
It is. I want to get there someday. I haven't been there, but good news. And last thing, Stomp, we had a correction. Listener Judy had sent a note in. Do you want to break this one down, Stomp?
Yeah. So last week we talked about Stick Season, the week before. This new folk pop singer is hitting it big and going viral, so to speak. And we got a message here saying that if Mike wants to be a cool dad, then he has to pronounce the singer's name correctly. So I think we blew it and said it's Kahan.
Yeah.
But it's actually Khan.
Yeah, Noah Khan. So
Khan.
Yeah.
Duly noted, Judy. Duly noted.
Duly noted. And Judy, I think so if you're listening, I have a plan to ensure that I will continue to be the cool dad, and that is to get my kids tickets to Noah Khan's concert at Fenway Park. So I'm working on that. So,
wow, cool.
What kind of music is that?
Time.
It's like singer-songwriter, like folk music.
Nice.
So he's from Vermont. So it's sort of a unique style. It's got I don't know. It's singer-songwriter, I would say. Modern singer-songwriter.
Robin? Excellent.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Are you ready for Slasher's Gear Review?
Yeah, all right, Stomp. So moving on to some gear topics here. Our friend Al sent me over a link to a product that I wanted to get you guys your perspective on. So this is called oh boy.
Sorry, Xylo's killing me here. You guys got to see this.
Oh my God.
Just adjusted the camera so you can see it.
Jesus, what the hell is going on here?
He's murdering me. I might bleed out any minute now, okay?
Look at Mike's face. Mike's face is just disgusted.
I would pick that thing up and toss it across the room.
Oh, damn it. He's getting rowdy.
Yeah.
Do you want to die, little guy? Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just had to show you my misery.
All right, Xylo, we're doing a show here. Beat it. So anyway, we're doing a gear summary. I'm totally thrown off at this point right now, Stomp. You got me up again. So the Tactistaff Survival Hiking Stick. So Stomp, it's a 3 to 4 pound stick, and it's got 15 uses. It's a hiking stick. So it's a big metal looking pole thing. And it's got 4.8 out of 5 stars on some review site, according to the company here. And it's got a reputation as an all-in-one, ultra-portable walking stick that also serves as self-defense and as a survival kit. So I'm going to...
Interesting.
It's
nice.
got at least 4 sharp objects. It's got 4 knife attachments to it. So you can definitely do some damage here.
No kidding.
I'm going to run down the list here. So it's got a glass breaker pointed hammer, so you can whack something with that. It's got a thread protective cover. It's got a whistle. It's got a spearhead, so you can kill somebody with that. It's got a harpoon, so you can like kill an animal with that. It's got a flat screwdriver, a star screwdriver, a Flintstone fire starter, a rubber seal, a knife, a bottle cap opener, a can opener, a saw knife, a magnetic compass, and a storage bag.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for your average recreational hiker, how much of this would be handy? Or
All of
just
it.
overkill?
All of it.
You think so?
Yeah, you need everything.
All of it?
Yeah,
What
you
are you
need a
going-
harpoon.
You going to combat in Iraq or something like that?
You need a harpoon. If you're going to hike Franconia Ridge, you got to bring a harpoon.
It's just so you can swing from one spire to the next, I guess, right?
Yes.
I mean, I was like 4 or 5 pounds. My God, I wonder what this thing feels like, because your regular pole is not that heavy, but 4 to 5 pounds when you're hiking with it. I wonder if it's got to be heavy as heck.
It's got to be. It has to be. So if
What about a
they've
hammer?
got a picture of it here. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8 sections that all screw together. But then it has like a pouch that has the 4 sharp objects, and then I'm assuming there's a fire starter. Yeah, there's a fire starter there, and then a compass. So I may buy this thing just to see like what the deal is. But if you're a listener and you're going to go on like a long hike, don't bring this thing unless you've tested it out. But it's just ridiculous.
Hey, check this out.
Yeah.
Down a little lower, it says, transforms you into a hiking machine. Reduces joint pain and fatigue. Quote, I can't believe how much easier my hikes have become since using the Tacti-Staff. My joint pain and fatigue have significantly reduced, and I can now enjoy longer hikes without discomfort. Doesn't list anybody's name or anything like that, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
But hey, I want to be a hiking machine.
There's a video of like somebody that's using it like a ninja stick, and then they're breaking bricks with it. So,
Yeah,
so
I
if
saw that. It was crazy.
Yeah. So if I see somebody with one of these things, I'm running the other way.
That video that you're talking about, it looks like a North Korean prison guard. Like
It does. It does.
This is out west and stuff like that stuff. This is just beyond what we can handle here in America. Like, this is
it
just.
looks cool though. It's aluminum too, right?
Yeah, I may buy this. I'm just gonna buy. Can I expense this stuff? I feel like
Yes.
I can. Like, this is gonna be a tax write off. I'm gonna buy this.
Well, it
That's
looks
the
like
next
there's a
question.
fire starter in there too, as well. So
There is.
I
So
mean,
what's
that's
the cost?
It's $100.
Oh yeah, that's not too bad.
I
You know
mean,
what the
that's
funny
like,
thing is, though?
people spend like $60 on just hiking poles, like the expensive hiking poles. So why not
That's
spend
true.
$100 on something that could be 18 different devices in one?
That's correct. But you know what the interesting thing is that Al sent this to me, and he was like, I think that this is a scam. And I actually looked to sort of see what the deal is to buy it. And I couldn't really figure out from this link how to purchase it. But I did go on Amazon and I typed the name of it in, and like a different one came up, but it looks like the same features. So I don't know. I'm going to poke around, and maybe I'll buy this just for research purposes. So, all right. So
Yes,
anyway,
do
the
it.
Tacti-Staff survival hiking stick. Check it out. Stomp, what else do we got for gear here? You put a couple of other things in here.
Yeah, I think it's important to note this option for people. We've provided 3 links for you to check out 3 variations on your classic shoulder pack, which, most of them just hook on to
Shoulder pocket.
Shoulder
So
pocket.
You're talking about, where you can put a phone or like your wallet or whatever.
Correct. Yep. So there are a bunch out there. There are 3 or 4 that we've listed here that you can explore, but I highly recommend them. I have one that is not one of these 3, but it works fantastic. You can put a hand warmer in there just in case, double it up with your phone, and you're good to go. anything important that you need to reach for quickly, it's right there on your shoulder and it's easy to reach. So,
Stomp, do you want to read out the brands for the listeners who can't look at the Google sheet that we're looking at?
Sure. First one would be Gossamer Gear. Yeah, the reason I hesitate to do that is because there are literally a million options when you search for them, but we've listed 3. Gossamer Gear is the first. The second would be X-Pack. And then the third, which honestly, this one sort of caught my eye, just the look of it themselves, Mountain Laurel. So those 3 you can check out.
I've got one more suggestion, Stomp, to add to it, is the Hyperlight mountain gear. So they sell a Dyneema version of it that I use, and it's good. It fits your phone. It's got like a webbing in the front. It's not cheap. It's like $50, but it's waterproof. So definitely worth checking out.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stomp.
So moving on to pop culture talk, I thought this one was interesting, Stomp. I pulled an article. There was a rave party, like an EDM party in, I think, Hong Kong.
Right.
And what this was, it was a convention for crypto bros. So all these people that are into those non-fungible tokens. So these things are like, you can like make a drawing, put it on a blockchain or something, and then bid on it. So this was a big thing in like right around early COVID. People were bidding on these stupid pictures for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So these people are still they still think that this MFT, non-fungible tokens, is going to be a thing. Like everyone's told them it's never going to be a thing, but they still don't believe it. So they got together, did a rave and a party, and they have like stupid money to burn. And the people that organized the party cheaped out on the lights, and they got these kind of lights that are
UV.
They're UV lights. So the next day after the party, all these people were like reporting that they were in so much pain, that their skin was burning. And a lot of these people had this thing that you get when you go hiking in the winter and you don't wear eye protection and you're above tree line, your eyeballs can actually get sunburn. That's called snow blindness. These people literally got the same exact thing. It's called Ape Fest Hong Kong. It's a 3-day event that was for these NFT true believers. And yeah, the lighting system they used was UV, and it burnt all their eyeballs, which I feel like this is the group of people that should get their eyeballs burnt.
Shame drop in 1, 2, 3.
But could you believe that? I could have never imagined that that's a thing.
Yeah, don't worry, people. We won't be having those lights at the Reckless Show on Saturday. We'll just have regular.
I was going to say, Stomp, you don't have that stuff yet?
Well, honestly, if like you want people to focus on the music, it's actually not a bad idea. Just make people blind, and all they have is hearing left. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, but it ties into hiking a little bit because it's a reminder. Make sure that you're bringing, when you do your winter hiking, make sure that you have goggles that repel ultraviolet light and your sunglasses as well, and typically, like I like to bring, if I know I'm going to be extended above tree line, especially in bad conditions, I'll bring like a backup pair of goggles too, just in case, because they do freeze over.
I have a question for you guys. How much of a risk is snow blindness in the Northeast compared to, say, Nepal? I mean, is this something that is a legitimate concern, or not so much?
I don't know. I think it's a legitimate concern, Stomp. I think if you are on a bluebird day and the sun's reflecting off of the snow, I don't think elevation makes a difference when it comes to this. I think it's only about the reflection. Maybe like those higher elevations, like the because the ozone is thinner or something like that, maybe the rays can penetrate more easily. But I still think you're in danger of snow blindness in the whites.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. Something we should look into.
Yeah, well, I also think that the people going out in Nepal and stuff like that have much more knowledge than like the inexperienced and even the experienced do out here in the Northeast and sometimes in the West and stuff. They just want to bag those peaks and they really don't care about like snow blindness and stuff like that, where over in Nepal and stuff like that, you're exposed anywhere above, I don't know, like 18,000 feet, basically. Base camp is what, 22,000 feet? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, you're at least 20,000 feet.
Yeah, so it's all about knowledge and stuff like that, and people, the Sherpas will probably help you out with that stuff, and you should be knowledgeable to go to base camp with Mount Everest and in Nepal anywhere to have basically protection for your eyes for snow blindness.
Yeah, and I'm just reading here as you're talking too, and they say usually the symptoms will appear like 6 to 8 hours after UV exposure. So I guess maybe you got a little bit of time. So that's the dangerous part, is that you think like, oh, I'm okay, and then next thing you know, you get down and then you experience the symptoms. So I don't think it's worth it to mess with your eyes. I would say always make sure you have sunglasses and your goggles with you in the winter. All right, so the next thing we have here, Stomp, is you pulled this article about Mr. Beast. So can you explain who Mr. Beast is?
He is probably the biggest YouTuber at the moment, one of the most popular. He does a bunch of interesting challenges, and currently I think he's number one in the world. I could be wrong about that. Next to us, perhaps, or Kill Tony, but he's definitely... He's definitely number one in my book, I suppose, but I think he's facing a little bit of heat and criticism for a really cool effort to bring water to Kenyan communities. Certain corners of the world didn't appreciate it, and he's getting some heat for it. So it's sort of an interesting pop cultural moment where somebody tries to do good and gets slammed for it.
Yeah, I guess like there's some activists that are upset because, rich person coming in to a poor area and solving the problem for them. And, there's some people that have been working on the ground for advocacy for years and years. And then this guy swoops in and solves a problem right away. Yeah. They're also sort of saying that they're upset that this highlights the failures of the Kenyan government, maintaining a stereotype that Africa is dependent on handouts and philanthropic intervention. So I thought it was an interesting story, Stomp, because we often hear about fundraisers related to, hiking activity where people will specifically be focused on water scarcity issues in Africa. And, I think it takes a village. And however, if you have water scarcity, I would assume that the people on the ground probably don't really care who gets credit or who's involved in solving the problem, as long as the problem gets solved.
Well, what happens is you're exposing probably a degree of corruption. I mean, if money's going into certain agencies and they're not getting it done, then yeah, you're stepping on people's toes. But good for him. I think it's fantastic.
Great. All right. And then continuing on to pop culture. So what are we watching right now? So Stomp, you got anything you're watching? Me and Stomp are sort of at the end of our limits here.
I usually don't know how you guys have time to watch things because, I have to wake up at like 4:00 in the morning and get to stuff, but we watch very seldomly and stuff like that. So we started watching The Magicians. Fantastic show so far. We were only like 4 episodes in, and I'm just, it's building, of course, and they're showing their skills and talents and stuff like that. And I gotta admit, it's fantastic to see this type of stuff, because we don't watch TV much often. We can't really. We don't have the time.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring this up, because this is a fantastic show, and I've watched the first season. So not only is this a fantastic show, this is a fantastic book series. So this is a book series. As a matter of fact, the books are probably a little bit better than at least season 1. But essentially what this is this show, the way I would describe this is that this is Hogwarts Harry Potter for adults, or like sort of an edgy version of Hogwarts for the students that come into this magical school. They don't realize they have magical abilities until they get to be older and they come into the school, and then it's sort of all about them learning to sort of deal with their magical abilities and navigating the relationships and the sort of rituals of the school, and behind a backdrop of sort of like this scary monster beast that's could pop up at any time and kill people. And there's like a Narnia twist to it as well that you probably haven't gotten to yet, but it's a fantastic show, so I highly recommend it.
What network?
Yeah. Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I think originally it was a I can't remember, Sci-Fi Channel, I think.
Yes, Sci-Fi.
It was Sci-Fi Channel. So, but yeah, The Magician. So I'll link this in the show notes if people want to check it out. But it's definitely, I think it's like 3 or 4 seasons now, so it's worth checking out.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Excellent. So, all right, moving on here, Stomp, to stickers.
Stickers. Get your SLASR stickers at Ski Fanatics in their new building off of Exit 28 in Campton, New Hampshire. It's right next to the Campton Post Office. Yay! You can also get them at Spinner's Pizza Parlor in Andover, Massachusetts, off of Dascombe Road. And we will have stickers this weekend at the Reckless Show. Do you have a sweat problem? Sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. Oh my God, Zylo's going nuts tonight, guys. I don't know what the deal is. So he's scratching feverishly at the freezer in the back here. Okay, as your clothes get wet, pardon me, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. This can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. We've got good news at SLASR for you. There's a piece of gear that solves the sweat problem. Vaucluse's ultralight ventilation backpack frame. The frame is a backpack accessory that easily installs in your favorite pack, size 15 liters to 65 liters, and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing less than a pair of socks at just over 3 ounces. Whether you're hiking in hot or cold temps, the ultralight ventilation backpack frame is a real game changer when it comes to airflow and ventilation. So visit VaucluseGear.com today and order an ultralight ventilation frame. Use promo code SLASR, SLASR, to enjoy a $5 discount. Plus, let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you.
Stomp, I did a little experiment related to Vaucluse on my hike this weekend. I started the hike in probably 45-degree weather. I was wearing a wicking t-shirt, a wicking long-sleeve shirt, and then a fleece pullover. And I was going fast. So I did 1.75 miles. I was going at a 3-mile-an-hour pace. And I was like, I want to see how long I can go and how fast I can go before I generate some sweat on my back. And I went, like I said, about 1.75 miles. I was going at a 3-mile-an-hour pace. And I did start feeling a little bit of sweat on my back. But so I took it off, and you can see this here. I got a little bit of sweat on the Vaucluse in the middle, wow. And I'll post this picture for people to check it out.
Impressive.
But I took my fleece off because I was already overheating, and the wicking shirt that I had on and the wicking long sleeve shirt were pretty dry. So I took the fleece off, started hiking again, and then with the separation between the backpack and the Vaucluse, like I was pretty much dry by the time I got up another mile or so. And I was going 2.5, 3 miles an hour for the first 3 miles. So I was kind of stress testing it a little bit to see how it worked, and it is a pretty good job. I was impressed.
Yeah, that picture is amazing. You should definitely share that online.
Yeah, I'm going to for sure, because it was like I started sweating probably about 1.25 miles. So I went another half mile and built up a little bit more sweat. But the sweat is really only on the touch points of my fleece jacket there, or my fleece pullover. So it wasn't bad at all. And it was only in the middle part where the most contact is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I gotta admit, that's really impressive.
Yeah. So I've been really playing with it a lot lately. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I got some hikers that came by, and one of the ladies asked me about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's called Vaucluse. Check it out." So she liked it.
Yeah. Nice.
Excellent. All right, Stomp. This is the part of the show where we talk about what beer we are drinking.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Stosh, you got something going on. What are you drinking?
Me?
Yeah.
I have Awestruck. It's basically local, Sydney and New York, and it's a hard cider. Very, 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 very smooth, very fantastic, not very carbonated. Alcohol content is only 5.5, so it's not as your local insane IPAs that you guys drink over there in New Hampshire, but it's smooth as heck. I usually drink this Awestruck, or I drink hard liquor and stuff like that, so good stuff.
Smooth as heck.
Oh.
Yep.
Smooth as heck. What are you drinking, Stomp?
Well, in commemoration of your Greylock hike, I got a Greylock Imperial New England IPA. So it's the Greater Good Imperial Brewing Company. And this is a 12% ass kicker, which is amazing. You guys have had one of these, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those things are, they're good, but they're stiff.
Yeah, they certainly are. So it's named for the largest mountain in Massachusetts, Greylock. It's the largest IPA in their portfolio, and it's really tasty, and I'm already feeling the effects of this, but that's okay. It's my birthday.
And it makes the podcast much more interesting.
Yeah, me slurring my words. Ugh.
Yes. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Oh, have you?
And I am drinking from Treehouse Brewing. I still have my Treehouse supply. I'm drinking a 35, which is an IPA, 7.8% alcohol. So this one's kicking my ass.
Oh, is it really?
Man, I feel so bad, man. I wimped out on this one.
Oh my God! So if I had
Shame.
2 of these, I'd be drunk out of my mind, I think.
And that's a good thing, because I think the last time was the Sober October that we
Correct.
had to deal with this. Stomp didn't participate in that, but I think you did.
No, we both did Sober October, I think the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, shame.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Now this is the part of the show where we talk about recent hikes. So, Stomp, why don't you go or do you want to save this for the segment?
Oh no! Well, the Mrs. Stomp hike is separate from the Watcher and the Eaglet. I can talk about it briefly, but I definitely want to get to your experience. Yes, I hiked up the Watcher and over to Eagle Cliff with my cousin last weekend, and I've been exposing my cuz to progressively harder and more difficult, but modest distance hikes and challenges over the last month or so. And he's got the bug big time. We did the Old Man recently. We did Bald Peak over in Thornton, and the watch is very, very short. It's like maybe 4 miles at the most. It's super steep, and off of the Greenleaf Trail, you have to find a small little cairn that marks the start, which this time around was gone. We ascended up to the Eaglet, which is cool. There were 3 or 4 climbers that were actually climbing the Eaglet at the time, so that was really neat, especially following on the stories that Christina Folchik and Rusty Talbot told us about the Eaglet. We got to see a lot of those routes that they talked about, and imagine doing it and whatever else. But I do have to say the Eaglet, I have been there several times, and it is a super highway now. There are switchbacks in the gravel talus field. I mean, it's so much easier now in many ways, When we got to the section where there is a gully that splits left or right, the left would take you up to a fairly sharp 15-foot climb that's literally, I don't know, it's very steep. It's probably the hardest part of that hike on the left gully. It's just below the Watcher itself, aka the old woman of the mountains. But we opted to go to the right. And again, the right was just very, very much easier than I had recalled it being. It's just such a popular place now. From the summit of the Watcher, we went over to Eagle Cliff. And Mike, unlike you, I think you guys went down the backside and found that that old camp with the lounge chair and the tarp and this and that.
Yep.
Okay, so my cousin and I actually opted to go off of that trail fairly quickly to the south. There's a small little path that takes you into another sort of open, exposed area of cliff. And
now, was this where you were? Did you check out to see if that new slide had expanded a little bit?
Honestly, it's nowhere near it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at it from the parking lot, but it's more northwest from where the ascent is to the Eaglet and the Watcher. So I don't know, that it looks about the same to me, honestly. Okay. But it's a nice alternative. Coming down, you can either go to the backside, which you had done, Mike, which takes you down more of the root tree type of terrain back to Greenleaf, or if you go down the opposite side, it's more, I don't know, bouldery, talus fields and stuff like that. A couple of neat vantages there, but overall, it was just a really nice hike. A little bit damp, so it was a little sketchy, but yeah, good time. How about you, Stosh? Any recent hikes?
I have not been on any recent hikes lately in the past week or two because usually I have Sundays and Tuesdays off. Somewhat Sundays I have a second job that I participate in.
Yeah.
But Sundays I have days off, but I went to the place that we're going to have the 100th episode broadcast live from.
Okay.
And just checked out everything to make sure it was all okay and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I went to the mountains. I got to see the beautiful mountains and the beautiful sunset and stuff, but beautiful sunset with the horrible time change that we have. But
oh, I hate it. Oh my God.
Driving home at 5:00 and seeing the sunset, it's just absolutely depressing.
Yeah, it really is. It takes a little gusto to break the motivation, hurdle to go out and do something. It's tough, but
right.
Yeah, it's all good.
Nothing too much lately, but
yeah. So Mike actually went out to Greylock, and when he's ready, we'll talk about it. But Greylock is funny. I don't know if he made it to the legendary Hopper or not. We'll hear about that. But my dad has a very, he passed away a couple years back, and he always talked about the Hopper at Greylock. And I've done the road. The road is amazing, and I've taken family up there, and I have some family members that would have to get out of the car about a quarter mile before the summit of Greylock because they just got that vertigo sensation and had to walk the rest of it.
That's a little...
Yeah, I feel like I literally just scratched the surface, and it was actually bittersweet going out there because I think I have some regrets. I mean, I lived out there for 4 years. I went to college in North Adams.
Oh boy, isn't that funny?
I had a great time and I have some great memories, but I do, knowing what I know now, I certainly have a lot of regrets around the fact that I spent a lot of time outdoors. We went and we explored the Hoosick Tunnel, and we went tubing down the Deerfield River, and I went to the Natural Bridge, and I did a lot of outdoor stuff, but I just really regret the idea that I was out there so close to such an amazing area for hiking, and I didn't do as much as I probably should have. But it's never too late to make things up. So I was excited to go out there. I was looking back. I was trying to figure out when the last time I was out in North Adams. So I think it's been about 25 years. So I graduated in 95.
Yeah, double wow.
Yeah, wow. I graduated in 95. I think I went out there a couple times after I graduated, and that was about it. So I got up. It was the day. It was the night of daylight saving. So I had an extra hour. So I usually get up at 4:30 anyway, but I got up at 4 and it already felt like 5 o'clock. So I was on the road by 4:15. I took Route 2, 495, took Route 2 all the way out. That's called the Mohawk Trail.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's beautiful. It's an amazing ride. And when you get out to Greenfield, the section from Greenfield out to North Adams is just amazing. It's like got all these cool. It's very similar to Route 16, I feel like, or the Kangamangas in that area. So I had a great time. I stopped at the top of the Mohawk Trail, got a few pictures of there's this like elk that's on top of the summit of the Mohawk Trail section before you go down into North Conway or North Adams. And I took a picture there. The sun was coming up, which was great. And then I got down into North Adams. They have their own hairpin turn, much like we have our hairpin turn on the Kank in Lincoln. So I stopped there, took a couple of pictures, and then I went right to. I didn't go into North Adams. I went straight into Williamstown. So I hiked from the west side of the mountain, which is. I went into Hopper Road, Stomp, and then I entered the way that you go is it's Williamstown, and
Beautiful place.
yeah, it's a beautiful place. And I took I took the trailhead to the west of the mountain, so it's Hopper Road to the Healy Farm trailhead, and then I did what's called the 5 Summit hike. So my original plan was I was going to do the Appalachian Trail from the north and just do an out and back. But I was like looking at it and I said, I don't want to do an out and back, because anytime you're going to do a new hike somewhere, you should always do a loop hike so that you don't go back the way you came, because you're going to experience more of the area that way, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I looked at a couple of suggestions on Gaia, and they had this like 5 Summit hike, and I was like, all right, this looks good. The mistake I made was I went counterclockwise. I should have gone clockwise, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially what I did is there's a trailhead parking at this farm, and it looks like a working farm. So I was sort of like, am I trespassing here? Am I even allowed to be on this thing? But you enter this farm, and
Damn
you know
cat.
what it reminds me of is like, the cat's out of control.
Yes, I don't know what's going on. Pardon me for a moment. Keep on talking. I have my headphones on.
Yeah. But for the listeners, it looks like, it sort of feels like Ferncroft when you're hiking Whiteface past Conway. And, so I made my way up. I did counterclockwise. So I did Healy Farm Trail to a section called Stony Ledge. When you get to Stony Ledge, there's a shelter there that has kind of a cabinet that's fully stocked with firewood. So there must be volunteers that actually just like cut the firewood. And then it's a lean-to with a fire ring. It actually, like, immediately I was like, this is a perfect place to go winter hiking, because they've got the firewood there, and they've got a fire ring. It's a lean-to, and it's not open. So it'd be an amazing place to do winter camping. And then from Stony Ledge, there's another outlook into like a notch that you can start to see the summit of Greylock, but it's pretty far away and you have to loop around. So then from there, it switches from trail to a backcountry road, but there's no cars on the road. It's called Sperry Road. And what it is it's a road that connects from Stony Ledge to the main summit of Greylock, but you walk about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down this road, and it's all primitive campsites. So they've got like beer boxes and then campsites. There's probably about 25 campsites there. And I walked through the campground because it was closed because it's the end of the season, but I'm assuming AT through hikers must stay there in the regular season. And from there, I reconnected with the Hopper Trail, which is along Rockwell Road, which is the road that comes in from the southeast that parallels the Appalachian Trail to the summit. So I made my way up the Appalachian Trail to the summit. There was a few people up there. There was a race finishing. There was a race there, but no one was there. It was like they were setting up. And then from the summit, I ended up taking the Appalachian Trail northbound, and right below the summit, there's like a cabin. It's called Thunderbolt, I think, cabin. And there was a fire going on in there. So there was some hikers that were putting a fire in there for the runners who were going to come up for this race because it was pretty cold. And I guess apparently in the wintertime, it's like a backcountry skiing trip or trail. It's like the same version of our Sherburne Trail on Mount Washington. They have their Thunderbolt Trail or whatever it's called. And this hut with the wood stove is where all the skiers hang out and have like their hot chocolate and warm up before they go ski down the mountain. And from there, like I said, I hung out there for a little while. Then I made my way on the Appalachian Trail northbound from the summit. And the character of the mountain changed a little bit. It got super muddy, and it wasn't as nice. It was more like open woods, and I didn't like that section as much. Eventually, you connect with Williams Mountain, and then you cut back over the road and go to this section called Mount Prospect. And then from Mount Prospect, you go back down into Money and Hopper Brook, and that's where I realized like I made a mistake, Stomp. I went the wrong direction because going down into Hopper Brook again was insanely like steep, and it was all leaves, and I kept falling because I couldn't see like rocks and roots and stuff like that. So I would have been way better off, I think, going up that section and then going down the way I had ascended because it was much more, it was easier open forest. But I fell on my ass like 5 times. Like, but I just was like, it is what it is.
Yikes.
Typical fall day.
Exactly. It was like the leaves, Stosh, they were like a foot deep in some sections. It was crazy. Yeah.
Huh.
But I'm glad I chose that route, and it was ultimately about 13 miles. I banged it out in about 5 hours, 5.5 hours. So you could move super fast, like way faster than the whites.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some sections that were tough. But for the most part, like it's amazing area. Highly recommend people get out there. And I feel like I just scratched the surface because, I mean, there's trail systems from the south that I didn't hit, and there's trail systems from North Adams that I didn't hit. I do think coming from the north, that Appalachian Trail section from the north, I wasn't super impressed because that was kind of muddy, and I wouldn't recommend that. But like coming in from Williamstown was awesome. So I'd highly recommend that. We got to get out there though, Stomp.
So any 411 on the Hopper old growth trees?
You know, I wasn't paying as much attention, Stomp,
that's
to that. So I didn't really catch it one way or the other.
Okay, that's cool. How about that summit though?
Summit's amazing. It looks like a giant, like it's like a chess piece.
True.
Yeah,
like a pawn.
Yeah, and then it has the thing. I kicked myself. I got up to the summit too early because it wasn't open, so I couldn't walk up the stairs. But Stosh, you know what they had though is they were like, there was a thing where they were pointing out all the mountains, and they had some you could see out to the Catskills.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, that place is the highest point in Massachusetts, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks over to Conics, and it looks over the Catskills, and then you can see parts of the Adirondacks, Greens, and then maybe parts of the Whites, correct?
Yeah, well, you could see. I don't know about the Whites, but they had Monadnock. I could see Monadnock.
Whites, isn't it?
No, that's farther
right
south.
Outside.
So, but yeah, it was amazing, and it was really interesting. I got a little choked up when I got up to the summit, and I was looking down into the North Conway Valley, and I was just sort of thinking about, like, you know, I spent 4 formidable years of my life where I went from like a dumb kid to a dumb adult, you know, in that valley. And it was just sort of, it choked me up a little bit to think that it had been like 25 years or so since I had been here.
Well, let me know when you guys go there, because I think that's the same exact distance for us to travel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. Like it'd be a perfect meeting place. So we'll have to think about that. But
I love the Berkshires.
I did a little research on the history of Mount Greylock, and I've got a little bit of a background here. So the history in Greylock, so it's very similar to what happened in the Whites. It was sort of the same challenges that we were dealing with in the White Mountains, where there was some early trail systems that were completed, but there was heavy logging and development that went on in the mid 1850s. And within about 20, 30 years, the conservationists in the area had started to privately purchase most of the land around Greylock. So this Greylock Park Association had developed, and their biggest focus was sort of an early development of the Notch Road, which is there's a couple of different roads that go to the summit on Greylock. So you can actually drive up from the south and from the east in North Adams. So they had focused on building out these roads to the summit, and eventually the Greylock Park Association had also focused on reviving 3 of the primary trails. So one of those trails was the Hopper Trail Stomp that you had talked about. And they had, eventually, from the late 1800s to the early 1920s, they had expanded these 3 main trail systems and built out a bunch of different large trail systems from North Adams to the east, Pittsfield from the south, and Williamstown to the west. So eventually, they had, the conservationists had taken over the entire area and had protected it. And then by 1921, Benton McKay, who was a Harvard-educated conservationist from Connecticut, he was the first one to propose the idea of an Appalachian Trail to connect the highest points in the north, which would be like Mount Washington and the White Mountains, to the highest points of the Appalachian Mountains in the south, which would be like Mount Mitchell in North Carolina. So he had written an article about this proposal. He hadn't even really thought about the idea of being a continuous hiking trail. He had just sort of felt like there should be a network of areas where people could check out these high summits and navigate through. But some of the locals in the Mount Greylock area had read this article, and they were some of the first people to take the idea of a continuous trail seriously. So they started proposing and building trails around 1926, and they had built out a couple of ideas on where to lay out the Appalachian Trail section in Massachusetts. The first proposal was actually having it go farther west, I think, on the Taconic range, but ultimately they settled on a trail that was south of Greylock, went more to the east in Dalton and that area. But by 1931, various organizations had actually started to work together, including the Williams Outing Club and the Berkshire chapter of the AMC. Now, there was a lot of tension that ended up happening here because a lot of members of the AMC were outsiders, and this developed into conflicts between the locals and the outsiders, which caused delays. But by 1935, they had actually completed the majority of the trail section of Massachusetts. But unfortunately, as part of this adoption, apparently the AMC guys were all Boston educated people that came into the Berkshires, and they weren't well received by the locals. So there was a lot of tension that went on there. And even though they completed the sections for the AT by 1935, there was these simmering conflicts and tensions between the locals and the outside trail builders. So a lot of the people didn't adopt the trails or use them as much as they wanted to, just because they looked at those trails as the rich outsiders, and instead of sort of feeling like there was ownership locally. But over time, people have accepted it. But it's just kind of interesting that, it parallels the stories of the whites with the conservation efforts after the logging operations and development sort of ravaged the area. And then, this sort of conflict around outsiders and locals, we still see that today, Stomp. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but it's an interesting area. It's a fascinating place, and it's an amazing place to hike. And I highly recommend it. Especially, I didn't see anybody really. I ran into these 2 ladies that were taking a picture, and they didn't notice me, and they were talking, and they were taking selfies and stuff, and then they saw me and screamed.
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "Oh my God, well, you scared us." And I was like, "Well, I have that effect on the ladies." So then they started laughing, and then I was like, "Let me take a picture of
That's
you."
too funny.
So,
Dude, how was the Mohawk Trail? That is
Good
a
recovery.
beautiful drive.
Mohawk Trail was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I had such a good, and it was like
So pretty.
Yeah, because you go through, I think it's Charlemont is one of the towns there.
Yeah.
And then like the hairpin turn. I went back into North Adams afterwards, and that was a little depressing because I went to my old college campus and it's all construction. So they're building a bunch of things over there, but I was expecting to see more energy. Like there was no students on campus. It was a Sunday. So I was expecting to see more people around, but no one was around. They must be all hungover or something. But, North Adams still feels a little run down.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, well.
Going over to Jack's Hot Dog Stand and Village Pizza. So it was good to check out some of my old stomping grounds.
Have you ever checked out Mass Mocha? Mass Mocha.
I have.
Oh, you have?
I think...
I
I think the last time I went to North Adams in like the 90s, I went over there, but I didn't check it out this time around. But I've heard it's nice.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, it's something to check out. It's basically a museum. It's the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. I've been there once. It was many, many years ago. But basically, they focus on presentations of visual arts, performing arts, and all kinds of educational programs. It's a great spot to check out if you're in this area and you're planning on doing this hike.
Yeah. And I think between North Adams and Williamstown, like there's a ton of options for staying. I think this campground that I went on Sperry Road, I think it's worth checking out. I'll pull some of the reservation information, but I feel like if you're looking to do a backpacking trip, like this area is amazing. Like there's a ton of options and there's like miles and miles of trails that you can do. And the views are amazing. And, it's different from the whites, but it's also, somewhat familiar. So the trail systems have a slightly different vibe, but they're familiar enough where you'll say like, okay, I can handle anything in Greylock if I've been doing a lot of stuff in the whites.
Cool.
Excellent. All right. And then Stomp, I think next up we got notable listener hikes, right?
Yeah, sure do. Yeah, we have a handful today. Let's see what we have. So if you want to tag us on your hike, just tag SLASR and we will consider you for SLASR's Hike of the Week. And no guarantees you'll be plugged on the show. Sometimes we get overwhelmed with tags, but this week we have a reasonable amount. So we have Dave, S's in the Woods, classic. North and South Loon, mid-scar attempt, followed by a second attempt from the East Pond side. And that's the hike that Mrs. Stomp and I did the other day. So couldn't do it from the Loon side, but made it up to Scar, middle Scar from the East Pond side, which is Livermore, Tripoli Road. Jakester, Southern 20 of the New Hampshire AT. That's pretty cool. Pretty novel hike there, Jakester. D. DePiro, full Belknap 12 Traverse. That's pretty awesome. So all 12 peaks of the Belknap Range or Belknap Range, however you prefer.
However you prefer.
Yeah, we're not picky here. Nick hikes and plays guitar. Ephraim Hunt, Ministerial Land in Rehoboth, Massachusetts. That's pretty neat stuff. Nice tag there. Hiking feeds my soul. Miles the dog finished the Belknaps on Mount Rowe for 12 out of 12. Congratulations, hiking and Miles. Gingerbeard Keen. Pierce Jackson Loop with Saco Lake Trail. I'm not familiar with that trail. Anybody here familiar with that one?
No, I was looking at that too. I wasn't sure.
Huh, okay. Hopefully that's not a typo. And Mark S. Tackled the captain late season, of course, but that's fantastic. And made note that somebody has taken away the eye patches and the Captain Morgan bottle at the summit, which is a bummer. They must have been some Leave no tracers, but come on, people, give me a break. So next person up there, bring an eye patch and a Captain Morgan bottle if you can. Got to keep the traditions running. Jayco Run, Kearsarge North, a trail run up to Kearsarge North. That's a nice trail, right, Mike? That would be a really nice trail run.
Yeah, that's beautiful up there.
Yep. Brady Girl 1 hiked Carrigain and Garfield and found a bunch of historic artifacts along the way. Thank you for tagging us. Michael York hiked Mount Zealand with veterans on the 48. We are trying to get them on. They're busy folks. They're always out hiking, but they will be with us soon, hopefully. And then finally, LA or La Tupper had a 48 finish on Mount Zealand and West Bond. Congratulations for finishing the 48 4,000 footers. And that is it.
Nice. That is it. And that's a great way to finish, doing the Zealands and West Bond.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to me, West Bond is probably pinnacle, even over Carrigain. West Bond is special.
Yes.
Yep. So we'll give it to you. Yeah? L.A. Tupper?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Agreed.
Hell yeah. All right.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool. Very cool.
All right, so Stosh, you're the guest of the week for us here. So, are you excited?
Not really.
No, we already talked about.
I'm always excited to not be the host. Actually,
yeah. So let me ask you this: do you have any like guests or topics that like you would say like stand out over the last 100 episodes that you've done?
Oh, absolutely. So one of my I gotta bring this forth. Me and my friend John always hikes with me. He did the 3,500 with me. We'll chat about the 3,500 later, but we like to socialize together and especially drink together. So we drank a little bit before our episode and we got a little tipsy before our episode. So that was one of my favorite episodes ever. And I think it was episode like 27. And it was absolutely insane. Towards the end, it was it was a little bit crazy. It got crazy of where I do not remember anything. And my wife said I was like walking down through the house, and I'm like, I do not remember anything of this.
Oh, jeez.
Do you? So I haven't been really drunk, and I would say I was on a cruise with my brothers and the family and stuff probably about 10, 12 years ago, where I feel like I probably got drunk that night. But is it common for you to get like real drunk when you're
with him? Yes.
When you're out with him? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With him, it was like, so John, I have taken on some insane bushwhacks. Like this guy was not ready for these bushwhacks, and I kind of regret taking him on because I've always thought like halfway through, man, this guy's going to need a rescue. And, just him reciting, like he's part of my intro. And he always says, in the intro, it says the bushwhacks were the worst of my days of my mountains and possibly my life, really. So, I've let him on, but yeah, that's definitely one of the funniest ones I've ever had. One of the funnest. I've had a couple, actually ranger stories. A couple rangers have come on and actually talked about their rescues on Blackhead Mountain, where one person unfortunately passed away and they rescued the other person, which was absolutely an insane rescue. I wish I could go into crazy details about that, but that is a very, very long story.
Yep.
One of the coolest ones I've had is an episode about the bald eagle restoration project that we had here in New York State. So back in the 1980s, 1990s, we only had 2 to maybe 3 bald eagles here in New York State. And to have bald eagles, the the country's representative, animal, to have two of those in the state is actually like pretty crazy to think about. And these guys actually did a huge restoration project to where now we have, I believe it's over 300 eagles now, 23 years later. And just the fantastic story of him going up. The guy, his name was Pete Nye. He was a former forest ranger / just an animal lover. He would climb up to the top of trees and take out their eggs because they knew they wouldn't forage, and then put in fake eggs so they could actually take them and make them real bald eagles instead of having them hatch and then die eventually. So fantastic stuff. Some stuff that I've never knew that happened in New York State, and it's been a crazy ride just hearing these stories.
Yeah, the bounce backs on the Eagles has been crazy because I remember growing up as a little kid, like that was such a big deal. Like there was like three things that you always could like deal with when you were a kid growing up in like the 70s and 80s, and it was like the bald eagles. There was nuclear war with the Russians,
quicksand,
and then there was like stop, drop, and roll. Like you always thought you were going to be on fire, but like the whole bald eagle thing was like such a big deal because I think that they all mostly went out because of the chemicals in DDT, whatever that chemical is for fertilizer, but they got rid of it. So they bounced back here in Massachusetts, and I know I see them up in Maine all the time too. So it's been crazy to see their revival.
Yeah, to me that was one of the most phenomenal episodes. I believe that was episode 50 or 61, episode 61, and just hearing about, when I was a kid and seeing this one, eagle's nest only 20 miles away from me, but one of 2 or 3 in the state is absolutely insane. And then right now, I live in the city of Oneonta City. Let's just say that 14,000 people. Not even a quarter of a mile from my house is a bald eagle's nest that I can walk down to and watch the eagles just fly into and fly out of. And, the other day, 2-3 days ago, I had 2 bald eagles fly up and perch into one of my pine trees right on the side of the back. And it was just, I grabbed my little corgi dog and ran inside because I was just like, man, this could get pretty scary.
Yeah, that is scary. And I was just looking as you're talking, there was 426 known active breeding pairs in New York in 2017. So they probably only grown from there.
Yeah, exactly. And the story of just, the restoration, the effort they took in building that bald eagle population. You see those pictures of bald eagles in Alaska where there's 20, 30 perched on a tree. And then here, like I said, there was 2 nests up in Rochester and then 1 down here. And to get that going from, when I was a kid, in the 1990s, Mike, you said 80s and 90s, going to see bald eagles is like going to see the foliage. You're just like, oh my God, there's a bald eagle over there. You run over there and you take pictures. But we didn't have those cameras, but, that was just a phenomenal moment. And to hear his way that he did it in the 90s and stuff like that to restore these bald eagles to the population we have now was just one of my favorite episodes. Heartwarming. Very, very heartwarming.
Yeah. Well, I'll pull that up and put that in the show notes so people can check it out. And then just moving on to, I guess, your recent experience. So you talked a little bit about how you haven't gotten out and hiked recently, but you did get out to the Whites. Have you been out? You've been up to New Hampshire a couple times since we talked to you, I thought, or maybe at least once. You did a Pemi Loop, right?
Yeah. Before that, we did a couple hikes up there. We did Cardigan Mountain down in the Southern Whites, outside of the White Mountain, but it was absolutely stunning. But recently, I think it was June, I went up with another summit, which is a nonprofit organization that leads hikes and free events for Guardians, which basically is like military personnel, first responders, stuff like that. My wife is very, very just skeptical of me going by myself. So this was a perfect opportunity to get out there and to get with other people, especially with first responders, military people. She's like, okay, you're fine. You'll survive. And that was an absolutely crazy experience. Let me just say, because it was fun. Let me just say, it was fun.
Do you remember where you started?
We started at Lincoln Woods Trailhead. Okay. And we started going, I would say north, right? North, you're going towards the Bonds.
All right, so you went to the Bonds first.
Yep, we went up to the Bonds.
So that's mistake first. Number one. You went the wrong direction, but that's okay.
Counterclockwise.
I don't know. I would rather walk that 3 miles in than take that long 3 to 4 miles walk out on the way out. That would have been treacherous.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's a pick 'em, honestly. Like, I'm just joking with you a little bit. Like, you can go either direction. I think, Stomp, you prefer to start at the Bonds and go the other way, to go that way, right?
No. Definitely clockwise.
You do? Wow.
All right, so you like Osseo and going up Flume.
Yeah, I like to get the hard stuff over with initially. And then from there, in my mind, it's the 2 miles of Twin Way, easy peasy, Bon Cliff, easy peasy. And then 5 miles out, easy peasy. You got to get that hard stuff over with first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, I mean, you can go either way. So you went up to the Bonds, and then what did you do for the first day? Where did you camp?
So we camped at the Guyot shelter.
Okay.
And, on the way there, I think you had 3 stream crossings you have to do sort of on the way there, right?
Yes.
Towards the Bonds.
Right.
Yeah.
So towards the second one, we started to have some rain, and it wasn't that bad, but we felt like we had to put on our rain gear and get prepared, of course, cover up the packs, cover up ourselves. As soon as we started ascending up towards, I believe it's West Bond, correct?
Bon Cliff.
Bon Cliff. Yep. Bon Cliff.
That's the first summit.
Yep. It started raining pretty nicely. Like constant rain.
Yeah.
And then it kept going and going and did not stop.
That's exposed for the entire stretch from Bon Cliff over to West Bond and to the campsite.
Yep. And that's basically, heavy showers, and then it would stop for maybe a couple minutes, and then it would be heavy showers again and maybe stop a couple of minutes. So what I thought would be a great time of talking with people, nobody talked at all. Everybody was just to themselves and let's get this over with. So when we got to that junction of the Guyot and what's that other West Bond, right?
Yeah, West Bond.
So we all looked at each other and we're all like, hey, should we summit West Bond? We're like, absolutely not. We are in for the night. We are absolutely done. We're all soaked. We're all, dead. No, I don't think anybody had the thought of going up to West Bond. We were just like, let's go down to the shelter. We went down to the shelter. We talked with the lady that was awesome. And she's like, yeah, we have like no room left in the shelter.
Oh,
but we have tent sites.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So we got lucky with that. So one of the guys I'm pretty sure there was like 11 people in our group. Once again, all mostly military and first responders. And I'm the SAR guy that's sitting off to the side that's not done the crazy stuff that they have done. So I'm not saying I'm bitching and complaining, but I'm bitching and complaining that this is like not the fun experience that I thought it was going to be. And these guys have trenched through the insane of the worst. So I'm just like utmost respect for them. But we set up our tents and everything in the pouring rain. And luckily I have my friend Henry, who has been on the podcast before, who's done the Triple Crown, stuff like that. He is one of the associates of another summit, and he's fantastic. Helps me set up my tent. And the funny thing is he like sets it up. He's like, wow, this is an amazing tent. He's like, what is this, a Big Agnes or something like that? I'm like, go around to the other side, check out what it is. And the funny thing is I crossed off Coleman and I put Big Agnes. It was a
Oh my God.
a one person Coleman tent from Walmart that I have weatherproofed, and it was $10 and it was 2.4 pounds.
Wow. How did it hold up with the weatherproofing?
Absolutely fantastic. I
Really?
couldn't have been more like, oh my God, like this is absolutely insane that I paid $10 to this compared to, $250, $300 for another tent that absolutely did phenomenal in the weather. It wasn't pouring rain, but it was a constant crappy rain.
Yeah. And then when you just basically just hit your tent and went to sleep, I'm assuming, in that weather. I mean, that's all you can really do, right?
Yeah. We made dinner, and they had right below the shelter, the lean-to kind of area. They had like a just prop set up to where you can make your food under the rain. And
yes.
we all seriously just sat there and looked at each other and were like, man, this sucks. This sucks really bad.
Well, that was the story of like the whole summer of the White Mountains, right?
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
like every weekend was like that.
Yeah. And we just, I went underneath, to be honest. I had the tent spot that I have. I went underneath and I hung all my wet clothes up, just clipped it and tried to find a spot to let it dry and stuff like that. And then got in my tent and tried to sleep. I couldn't sleep worth crap. It was just one of those nights of where I couldn't sleep. So
Did you cry?
And then did you guys keep going for day 2?
Oh, of course, absolutely. So day 2, I woke up. I think I was the first or second that woke up, and I went down and I had to. Sorry to say, I had to take a crap. But when I walked over, beautiful sunrise. I was just like, oh, today looks like a nice day. If you've ever been down to the Guyot shelter, that has a beautiful outhouse that just looks over kind of like a nice spot. And I was like, today's going to be good. Cool. We all have our breakfast, stuff like that. Break down our tents. Everything's absolutely soaked. Everything's still soaked. Put on some fresh socks. We start going up. We talk at the junction, and then it starts raining again. It just starts coming down. It isn't like little drops. It's just constant rain. And one of the concerns we had is with going over the Garfield Ridge with thunderstorms possibly coming in. And that was the concern of Stomp. I think you know him, Mark.
Yes.
And Henry had concern. Mark is a beast, by the way.
Yeah.
Tell him.
He knows all
things. I really
things.
don't like him.
Who, Mark?
He's a beast. He just looks at me and just like, stop being a wuss. Do this now.
Ray, he can do that. He's deserved that honor of being able to do that to people.
I gotta admit, he's got that stamina and that honor to be an awesome human to push you to your next limit. And he
exactly.
did. He helped me a lot.
Exactly. Well said.
So yeah, so we go over and up and down and over the Garfield Ridge. We go up to, I believe it was Galehead, right? With the old former fire tower.
Former fire.
Galehead has a hut on it.
A hut.
Yeah.
Is it a former hut?
It's a hut.
There's the AMC hut is there, and then there's no fire tower. It's just like a summit that's right
on Galehead itself,
above
though.
the AMC hut.
Maybe you're talking about the Twins. South Twin may have had a tower on it, but I'm not really sure on that. Galehead is actually recessed into the valley where into the Pemi itself. It's lower than Twin and Garfield, so maybe there was a tower. I mean, listeners can let us know on that one, on Twin.
Yeah, I'm probably 100% wrong on this. I think I'm talking about Garfield. We hit the hut
for sure.
Yeah, so we hit the hut and we kind of stop. We have our little moment, get some water, get some food, and the rain stops. We all are like feeling good. The whole freaking place is full of steam because everybody's wet. It was nasty. It was horrible. We have our t-shirts on. We're ready to go. We all get packed up and we're just like, let's go. Start walking. Starts raining again. It seriously is like getting on us. Like, it's just like, hey, you guys are going to hike again. Screw you. We're going to rain. So once again, we start going up and over. We hit, to to hit Garfield, that has a former fire tower or something like that, right?
Correct.
Something, a structure up
There's
top,
a foundation
right?
there for sure, yeah.
So that place, we get kind of the first view somewhat. We didn't get a view anywhere else. And I get a little view of the slides and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Mark took a funny picture of me looking at him, and I'm kind of disgusted, and I almost look like I'm going to flip him off. And it was really good. I was just like, whatever. So that at that point we're like, oh crap, we have so much time to go over to Lafayette with the thunderstorms approaching. So we got to get moving. And I took a fantastic picture. I don't know if you guys saw it, of them coming down Garfield, kind of like the Garfield Ridge. And we are just full out rain gear, full out getting ready, bracing ourselves for whatever is to come.
Yes.
And it was not that bad. We hit some pretty hard rain. We start going. One part up, we were going up Garfield was actually pretty intense because it was super steep, and it was kind of like a waterfall at the time. And that's the only other time that we've kind of hit people. And before we hit that kind of waterfall, they're like, have fun going up the waterfall. And we're like,
oh, yeah.
What are you talking about?
Me and Stomp have done that.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was intense. And just like, everybody was, trying to talk to each other, make sure, we had each other's back and stuff like that. But just going up that one part was just like, well, we're wet now. Who really gives a crap if we're wet again? Who cares? So that was interesting. And, so we start going up Lafayette with the PUDs and, the PUDs, and, everybody's kind of like getting sick and tired of this crap. We're just like, man. And you have those, 3 fall summits, I'm guessing, 2 or 3?
Oh, for sure. Leading up to Lafayette?
Yeah.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
Yeah. So that started to break out, and like you could start to see people ahead of you. Mark was kind of cruising along to get ahead and stuff like that. So it started to break out. Once we got up to Lafayette, the clouds started to diminish. And, we started to get views off towards the northeast and stuff like that. And we were kind of feeling hopeful. Went down into the Greenleaf Hut, which was very, very welcoming. Oh, my God, that was absolutely phenomenal. But
I can imagine.
I couldn't, 1,000 feet in 1 mile when you're at the end of the day, full soaked rain. It's just brutal as heck. And,
Were you staying at the hut?
We did. We actually
All right. Well, that's good.
100% good, but somewhat good. It was like going down. It's taken, I have socks and stuff like that, but I'm starting to get blisters. Like these blisters are starting to form like really bad. We get at the hut. We have something to eat. The freaking crew is absolutely fantastic. I've never had that sort of experience in my life, and I suggest anybody in New Hampshire to go up and experience the crew at least once in their life, because it was absolutely phenomenal, and it put a huge smile on my face that I did not have a smile. I was just like, screw this. To be honest, we went and hung our backpacks up, and every one of our backpacks was like leaking water.
Oh,
without
man.
It's like 100 pounds, right?
Oh, way over that too. To be honest, Stomp, I'm like you, man. My pack was 39 pounds at the beginning.
Wow. Sounds like a great time.
The good thing is it wasn't done at that time. So of course everything leaking. We have a great meal. Have great time bonding. My chest strap broke on my Osprey, so we tried to fix that. That was fun because of course you don't have your chest strap. It doesn't balance. So then you're getting pulled back by the weight of your backpack. And we tried to fix that. No fixing. So we also tried to heal my good old blisters that are forming on my feet. Didn't really happen. And then I try to go to sleep, and there's 30, 40 people in there snoring at the same time. And
That's a good way to describe it.
Oh man, I had my earbuds in and I tried it. I have that ambient noise of maybe like fans or air conditioning or stuff like that. Could not get over it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Seriously horrible.
Dude, you have a hard time sleeping backpacking, huh?
Usually I don't have a bad time, but I think it was just being uncomfortable of being wet. And, I had warm clothes for the Greenleaf, but the other time, I was just like, I got to spare these for the next, 10 miles or so like that.
Right.
And just, it was tough sleeping, but, I had my Nemo, 15 to 30 degree, bag. My sleeping bag was fantastic. My sleeping bag, my Nemo sleeping plaid was awesome, but I just could not get comfortable, especially with you're in the hut and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people with you in there that are snoring. And I guarantee I'm snoring too, and I'm bothering them as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
And
true. So you guys, did you end up doing the full loop? You went back, the day 3, you just headed out of Greenleaf and made it back to Lincoln Woods?
Hell yeah. So day 3 was absolute phenomenal day. Clear blue skies. I think we started off at like maybe 8 a.m. and we know that treacherous climb up, going Lafayette, keep going up, but you get beautiful, phenomenal views, 360 degree views that I just was absolutely blown away by. I've been above tree line before, Canadian Rockies, stuff like that, but this was absolutely stunning. But the funny thing is going down to what is it, West Lafayette, or what was the other?
Lincoln.
There's Lincoln and then Little Haystack.
Lincoln and Little Haystack. It started to get really, really crowded. I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah, that area does tend to get crowded. But once you get past Little Haystack, though, and you head to Liberty and Flume, it's all the crowds disappear.
We hit Liberty. Liberty was absolutely packed, and so was Flume. It was a crazy day, and to the point of where I'm not familiar with the whites, but I was yelling at people to get off of the, stay on the trail and get off of the protected areas. I was yelling at people, and I was just like, man, that was just come on. But right after Flume, we hit down and we saw, went down the ladders, which was absolutely phenomenal. My blisters are getting out of control. I'm in pain. I want to get freaking out of this crap because, so much water is in my boots and my socks, stuff like that. I have 4 pairs of socks with me to change. But blisters are still forming like crazy. From Flume all the way down to Lincoln Woods, we probably hit 2 people. It was absolutely insane. And it was very, very awesome. I love that descent going down the ladders. And then it's just a constant, nice coast all the way down to Lincoln Woods. And down at the Lincoln Woods, when we met the trail junction, I passed out. I seriously passed out for 5 to 7 minutes. And I just laid there and just passed out. Somebody thought I was dead.
Well, congratulations. The Pemi Loop is a good achievement to definitely knock off, and it'll give you some serious respect for the whites, right?
It does. I got to admit, it was fun. The rain didn't help that much, I got to admit, but I got to admit, I would have loved for those first 2 days to be absolutely clear and to see everything that the whites have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, this summer's just been brutal, so it is. I mean, it is what it is at this point. Yeah. But it is, in being local, we do kind of have the luxury to just sort of pick our days. When I did last time I did the Pemi Loop, I think last summer, I lucked out where I had generally good weather for most of it. So we didn't get a lot of views on Franconia Ridge, but by the time we got over to Garfield, it was good views. But me and Stomp have done that waterfall hike, and it's tough. I couldn't imagine doing it in the rain.
It was, to be honest, you guys, you have limestone up there, so it's pretty grippy. We don't have that down here in the Catskills, so it's very, very slippery. You got to be very precautious and stuff like that. So going up, it wasn't that bad, but looking at it from down below, we were like, what the hell is this crap? Is this the trail? Is this not the trail? And and it was really cool. It was really fun to get splashed on by water on your second day of your 3-day hike.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're running up on time here, so Stosh. So I guess one other question we wanted to wrap up with you on is the difference between the 4,000 foot club finishers and the 3,500 club finishers. Can you talk about like the volume difference there? Like, I don't even know how many people have finished the 4,000 footers. I think it's like 17 or 18,000. Like, how many people have done the 3,500 footer club?
So only a little over 4K have done the 3,500 club. But like you said, 17,000 people have completed the 4Ks.
All right. So the Catskills have the 3,500 club. We've got the 4,000 footer club. So do you think that more people have done it, or is it just not? The peak bagging stuff isn't as popular in the Catskills?
You know, I have a feeling that because you guys have open summits, the views and stuff like that, it definitely nails it. I got to admit, open summits are absolutely phenomenal. But, you know, we have very technical places here in the Catskills as well. People hike, you know, what is it, the Northeast 111 now? Mm-hmm. So they have to hike 2 Catskill hikes, which is Slide and Hunter here in the Catskills, which is absolutely nothing. It's nowhere near to what the other parts of the Catskills have to offer. But, you know, being the amount of people we have, New York City right here, 2.5 hours away, and everybody goes up to the Adirondacks or the Whites. And, you know, we have the beautiful Catskills, which mostly have not open summits, but we have viewpoints all over the place on your way up. And we have technical spots, you know, scrambling, crazy rock climbing, stuff like that in here, as well as, you know, the Whites does as well.
Yeah, I got to get down there and check it out. But I do think that like the Mount Greylock idea is a good one too. If we ever get out there, we'll give you a heads up and we can meet up halfway.
Absolutely.
I would love that. It'd be fun.
SLASR's hiking topic of the week.
All right, Stomp. So we want to get into what's in Mrs. Stomp's pack here and talk about the East Pond hike that you did. But before we do that, I just want to give you breaking news.
Sure.
Bear Notch Road and Hurricane Mountain Road are closed.
Okay. Is that up to date?
That's as of today.
Okay. I was curious about that.
Yeah, this is Trails New Hampshire just posted on their Instagram page a little while ago. And then what they said is assume that Zealand Road, Long Pond Road, and Tripoli are probably coming up pretty soon too.
I would think so. Once the snow lands on these roads, they don't maintain them. They're not plowing.
Yes.
Interesting. Yes. Okay. Wow.
So Bear Notch and Hurricane are done.
Done. It's going to change quick, people, for sure, especially after this weekend coming up with the cold weather and the snow coming. It's wild. Yeah. But yeah, this is fun. So Mrs. Stomp is in Florida for my birthday, so that gets a shame drop. And she gets a second shame drop because she was woefully unprepared for the hike that we did this last weekend. And she gave us, the podcast, permission to roast her, which is really cool, and to look at what she brought for a 30 to 40 degree temperature hike in the higher altitudes. And basically what we did was we tackled the East Pond loop, which is, it's a 4.8 mile loop off of Triple I Road. And East Pond itself is 2,600 feet. Little East is 2,596 feet. And this loop is just south of Scar Ridge, which on the north side of Scar Ridge is Loon Mountain. So that's sort of the geography of what we're doing. So
oh, okay. So this is, I'm just looking at the map right here. So this is the trailhead that's like right before Greeley Pond trailhead off of the Kank.
Yeah.
So you park like a little bit of ways, and all right. So then this connects you back over to the like Mount Tecumseh and the Mount Osceola trailhead and all that stuff.
Correct. So I mean, essentially, we left from home. We went Waterville into Triple I Road, and that's a harder approach to this trailhead. If you're approaching it from 93 it's much easier. It's paved and, you know, asphalt. So we get to the trailhead. It's midday. We know the sun's going down, And we weren't dealing with high temps to begin with. I had my summer pack, but it was packed with my Gore-Tex Patagonia, my down, a fleece middle layer, and bivvies and headlamps. And I had the whole thing. Mrs. Stomp packs her little teeny North Face pack, which weighed maybe, I don't know, there couldn't have been much in it. So she was kind enough to give us a list of what she had in her pack for this hike. And I have to tell you, she was complaining about cold the whole time. So we decided to do this loop from the trailhead clockwise, which brings you up to Little East Pond first and then over the shoulders of Scar Ridge over to East Pond itself and then back down. The hike itself is considered easy, but the only part I would actually modify that to moderately difficult would be the descent from East Pond down, because it's a mud fest for whatever reason. It's just getting a lot of drainage water seeping into the trail. I think it needs some maintenance or whatever. So Mrs. Stomp was cold and complaining a little bit, but she made it through, and let's see what we have here.
But Stomp, I will say, I'm just looking at the elevation gain here. Yeah. So it looks from like mile 1 to mile 2, you go from, mile 1 to 2 is where it looks like the elevation gain is.
Yes, correct. Yep. And that leads you up to Little East Pond. And then from there, it's a couple PUDs, purposeless ups and downs over to East Pond itself. I mean, it's worth it. We do this once a year, and it's absolutely beautiful. We were a little late for it this year. We try to get to the peak of foliage, and it's awesome. Highly recommended, but definitely be prepared, unlike Mrs. Stomp. All right, so we have the 10 essentials list here. I'm going to let you guys handle the 10 essentials list, and I'm going to read off what she had in her pack. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds fantastic.
So this is what is inside Mrs. Stomp's pack. First, we had a big metal black container of water. And she makes a little note here. It's in the cabinet. I forgot how many ounces it is. So I think it's basically a liter looking at it. So she had a liter of water. That's one of the 10s, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right. She had next a sweatshirt. Oh my God. Parentheses.
What type of sweatshirt?
Yeah, well, I'm getting to that. So parentheses, cotton.
Nice. Cotton kills.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Especially in 30-degree weather. Okay. Next, toilet paper. Is that a 10 essential? No. Yeah.
That is, well, I mean, you can use it to start fire. So that's good.
All right. Well, that assumes you have something to start the fire with, which she doesn't in this list. Okay, next, a leave.
I mean, that's technically like a first aid kit, so yeah, that's part of it.
All right, now here comes the food. Now this is the food that is to sustain you for a cold, wintry hike. Ready? Here it is. Buffalo flavored chickpeas.
I'm a big fan of buffalo flavored stuff.
Oh, but that's it.
I will not eat chickpea.
That's it, though.
I highly doubt that has a calorie amount that you burned off, though.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. That's all that's in her pack for food. Buffalo flavored chickpeas.
So she's got hydration. She's got nutrition. She's got no navigation. She's got no emergency shelter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give her credit for layers with a cotton sweatshirt.
How about
no illumination, no fire starter?
Yeah. No navigation whatsoever. She did have sunglasses, though, so she wouldn't be snowblind.
Okay, well, that's good. No repair kit, and she had sun protection, so she's okay. Honestly, though, Mrs. Stomp, like, I would say if you're listening to this, Mrs. Stomp, like, what do you care? Like, you've got a husband that has like a 40-pound backpack with everything in it that could save you, so you don't need to bring anything.
I know.
You just need to make sure your makeup is tight and that you have a good time.
Well, yeah. She prefaced this by saying, "You can totally roast me, LOL." I guess I just thought that's all I needed. Last time we hiked, it was 70s out, and I sort of forgot that it would be a lot colder. LMAO. And you're right. I mean, we're just busting her for this, but it is funny because I did have everything that we would need to be all right for a while, but it's just funny. If you were solo, that would be insufficient for sure. I mean, you're talking no headlamps, nothing.
Yeah, but this looks like a cool little hike, Stomp, though. Like this is a good 4.5 mile hike. Yeah. It looks like you got a couple of different like ponds that you'll hit. And how are the views on the hike?
It's strictly views of bodies of water and mountains that surround the water. They're stunning. Okay, absolutely stunning.
I bet.
Oh yeah,
open woods. And if you dig into the link here for the New Hampshire Family Hikes page for the East Pond Loop, it does mention the fact that there are a whole bunch of historic logging camps around the area. And I posted a picture of me holding up a sort of rotten metal barrel or bucket that I found literally just 30 feet off the trail. And I saw it, walked down, picked it up, just take a look at it, but put it back, of course. But there are the depressions, the basement depressions, they're all over the place. It's incredible. It was definitely a big area for the logging time.
Yeah, I bet. Have you ever been to this Peggy's Perch? Do you know what that is?
Not sure.
I'm seeing that on my map here. So, all right. Well, Stomp, I think that this was a good thing here. I don't think Mrs. Stomp did that bad at all. I think that she knows what's going on. So she's okay. She had everything she needed.
She had her guardian angel next to her. So
true.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right. So we learned about so let's just recap before we wrap up for the night here. So we talked about the Reckless Rescue 5K that's coming up on Saturday. Mm-hmm. We talked about Stosh's 100th episode and his fun but also difficult Pemi Loop. We talked about Mount Greylock, talked about the Watcher and Eaglet. So we covered a lot of topics here tonight.
Yeah, and it's Khan, not Kahan.
Yes, it's Khan.
And I'm about to crack open my second Greylock so I can start editing. Hopefully I'll make it through.
All right. Well, we will, if you're coming on Saturday, we'll see you on Saturday. And Stosh, thanks again for joining us, and good luck with your 100th episode. And I'm sure we'll have you back soon.
I sure hope so. Thank you for having me. I don't know why you have me on these podcasts anyway.
Oh, you're humble. No, we love you, and best of luck, and a great another 100. Let's make it to 500. We'll have you back for 500. How's that sound?
That's good. And remember, folks, don't feed the elk because they could gore you.
Correct.
That's right.
100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hill!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared. And I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.